She lost out on $500,000 in equity. Don't do this when you're having trouble making your mortgage payment. You are listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm Aaron Zapata, your co-host.
And I'm Todd Anderson, your other co-host. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Properties, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv. Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD.
That's 833-305-2253. Give us a call today.
So, Todd, you and I were at a foreclosure sale.
Yep.
Super important topic for people today that are experiencing tough times.
Yeah.
Because tough times come in all fashions.
They do. And I was having a conversation with somebody last week, was asking me about are there more short sales and foreclosures today? And I said, well, actually, as opposed to back in 2007, 2008, we're not seeing that, which was what we had back in the market back then, because people have so much equity in their home today as opposed to back then. But you and I have had a conversation. We both agreed that we think that we're going to start seeing more foreclosures on the horizon as people are unemployed for longer periods of time and as the economy is sluggish in certain sectors.
That's right. And so you and I were there to learn on this day when we went down to the courthouse steps. And why don't we just fill in the picture a little bit of what we saw? Because you and I, expecting
what we saw and what we expected
were completely different.
Yeah. So,
and this is not a lighthearted subject.
It's not.
But this part of it was kind of comical because we thought it would be much more formal process than it was. So why don't you explain where we were, what we were doing?
Yeah. Well, that was interesting because we went down there, as you said, to learn. And I think before I say what that was like, I should say what our preconception was. You and I have been in real estate for a while, but dealing in the foreclosure market is not something that we normally operate in. And so we both went with the expectation of kind of what you hear about and see about. Hey, there's going to be a foreclosure sale on the steps of the courthouse at noon on such and such a day. So I went there thinking there's going to be somebody with a lectern and
like a gavel?
A gavel, yeah, and seats, and it's going to be a formalized thing. No, we were over there, and what we actually experienced was some people milling around, and we were trying to figure out, okay, these are all people who are going to be bidding on these homes. Who's going to be?
We knew that, right?
We knew that.
We knew the bidders.
We knew the bidder, yeah, but we were trying to figure out where the auctioneer was.
Right. I kept looking at the door to the courthouse where the security gate is, right?
Yeah.
And I kept looking like, okay, is this person coming out yet? Are they coming out yet? Like, how does this work? And I literally kept looking. I must have looked 25 times.
Yeah, and I was doing the same thing, looking around saying, when is this going to begin? Because we were a little bit late. And then all of a sudden, somebody starts talking, and where's that voice coming from? And you could barely hear him. He was clearly talking to the people, and I looked down, and there's a dude sitting in a lawn chair.
With sunglasses on and very casual, and he got the auction started. It was a very, very casual experience, not what I was expecting. And he never stood up.
I don't know how tall he is.
Yeah, I don't know his name. He never took off his sunglasses. It's almost like he's in the witness protection program because you didn't know who he was. and
in many regards, that might be a good thing.
It might be. And so on this particular day when we were in Santa Ana. Mm-hmm. We were at the courthouse on Civic Center Way, and we were just sitting out front with this group of probably 12 to 15 people initially that started.
Yeah, if even that, yeah.
Yeah, and then the very relaxed, casual lounge chair guy who's auctioning off the homes. Mm-hmm. And he did the first auction, and he called out the APN number, the street address, and basically commenced the auction. And it took about 5 minutes, and it sold.
We should identify who, and we're talking about a dude in a lawn chair, but he's more than just that.
That's true. He works for a company.
He works for a company. So what happens is when your home goes to foreclosure, there is a trustee that is entrusted with the task of actually selling the home, and auctioning it off. And so this is a third party that's contracted by the trustee to take care of this
right.
auction.
And his only job is to confirm that the buyers that are there have cashier's checks with them.
Yeah.
That they can turn over to him on the spot in order to commence and close the foreclosure.
Yeah.
And so he auctioned it off. 4 or 5 bidders registered with him, and then they, basically said 1,000, 200,000, whatever it was, and he wrote down all the different bids and all the different amounts and who was bidding, and then got up to this number for the first home, and it was sold, and no big deal. Then we sat around for about 45 minutes to an hour, and there was a group of 4 people that were standing off to the side, and it was 2 ladies, 2 men, and eventually one of the couples left, and it was just left with the lady and the man, and we didn't know who they were. In fact, I thought she was an attorney, maybe representing one of the clients who was being foreclosed on that day. And I thought, man, that's somebody I should go talk to, because if they're working through foreclosures, maybe I can learn something from this lady. And about 45 minutes after the first house was auctioned off, he got a phone call, the auctioneer did, and he called the lady over and said, hey, we're going to proceed with the foreclosure. And I thought, okay, that sounds normal. He's letting the attorney know. And then she begins to plead with him.
Yeah. So then drama ensues.
Right.
Because she's not there as an attorney. She's there desperate to save the home that she lives in, but she doesn't actually own the home.
Well, and we're going to give you all the details right after we give you our contact information right now.
After we give you our details.
That's right. So you can reach us at 833, which is an 800 number. Doesn't cost anything. It's a toll-free number. It's 833-305-BALD. Again, that's 833-305-2253. Or you can go to our website at baldbrothers.tv. And this week, if you go and you sign up for our e-newsletter that we send out every week with updates on the market and what's going on with the Bald Brothers team, we will send you a list. And you can just request it when you sign up, or you can call us and request it, of things not to do when you are facing a difficult situation and you're having a hard time paying your mortgage. So we have this list together. We're talking about it today, but we have it in writing so we can send it to you. So reach out to us today and do not delay.
That's right.
So this lady's there pleading for her home.
Yeah, and
turns out she's related to the lady who owned it. And we're just going to guess here, because all we have is we overheard the conversation.
We're doing some detective work on our side of things.
Some gesturing.
Some gesturing based off what she said and what we also know based off of the title records. And we, by the way, we had done some research on these homes that were going to be auctioned, because we wanted to know. We already kind of knew what the value would be after, it's fair market value, possibly after repair value. So we went into that knowing that, and we wanted to see the process and how close it would get, and how, for an investor, whether it's worth it to go through this process. And this particular home we had our eyes on, because we knew going into it that the home was worth, 1.5, 1.4, $1.6 million, depending on the condition of the property. And so we were really curious, and we also knew from what we knew ahead of time that there was a death. And they're based off of the property records. It didn't appear. Wasn't probated or anything like that.
Right.
So it was a surprise to see this woman come forward. And what she said, she was pleading. She actually got down on her hands and her knees, asking people to boycott the sale.
Right.
Because she's lived there for decades. She said. And yet it was her mom who owned the house.
Yeah, and she said it was her mom's house.
Now on title, it was showing that the mom was 127 years old or some such.
Right.
Which I think if that was the case, we would all know about it in the newspapers. So
correct. She'd be the oldest living woman in the world.
So clearly the mother had died decades earlier.
Yeah.
And even if she lived to be 100 years old, she died, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so her daughter has been living in the home, perhaps paying the bills.
Maybe.
Something may have come up that she didn't see that was a lien on the home.
Yep.
And
this is all public record,
yes,
except for overhearing this conversation. But she did say, I lived there for decades. This is my only mailing address. She asked for us to boycott the sale. The auctioneer said, look, I'm just doing my job. Some of the other investors are said, hey, lady, you're going to get the proceeds anything over the loan balance anyways. And she's like, I don't want the money. I want the house. This is my home. And turns out that the foreclosing credit union had an outstanding loan of $73,000. That was the opening bid amount for this property.
Can you imagine losing a $1.5 million home over a $73, even $100,000 loan balance?
And so it gets complex in the fact that she was living there, but it wasn't in her name. And so the best we can piece together is that she didn't probate the home when her mom died to get it into her name. So far as the bank is concerned, she is a tenant that should not be in the home, has no authority to speak on behalf of the previous homeowner, and has no right to talk to them either. And that was part of what she was playing. Like, I can't talk to the bank. Nobody will talk to me. And so there's a process to go through if you inherit a home and you need to probate the home if it's not in will or trust. That's one thing. But that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about what not to do if you're facing that difficult mortgage situation. And so we would hate for you to be that person pleading at the courthouse steps to stop the foreclosure if you can avoid it. So we're going to go through this list.
And there are several opportunities before you get to foreclosure. It's not like all of a sudden, this bill's not paid, we're foreclosing. There are several steps that you have to go through before it even gets to foreclosure. So it's almost inexcusable to get to that point when things can be done. So the first thing is quite obvious. Don't stick your head in the sand and pretend like it's not happening.
Right. And we see people doing that.
We see it. Hey, you'll never know that you're sick if you don't go to the doctor.
Well, that's true. But you also, when you're late on your mortgage. Because they start sending you late bills, and they start sending you notices, and they start sending you official mail. It's pretty serious, and you can't just ignore it, hoping that it will go away.
It will not go away.
And most people that we talk to usually have a sense of embarrassment or shame that they're going through it. And so that usually becomes the main reason why people don't reach out for help. They're just embarrassed. And frankly, being embarrassed, you can lose your home. You have to overcome that. You have to be willing to make the phone call or reach out for help. The second thing on our list here is don't delay. Don't delay. The longer you take, the bigger the penalties, the bigger the interest, the harder it is to undo, and just the more expensive it gets to undo.
And number one and number two kind of go hand in hand, don't they? Because if you are ignoring it, you are in essence delaying it. And I think that's probably what happened in the case of this particular individual.
That's right. The third thing on our list, Todd?
Don't try to handle it on your own. Because some of these things are beyond your sphere of ability to handle, and you need somebody who knows the process, who can help you through, give you ideas. But trying to do it on your own can be very overwhelming. And sometimes the reason people try to do it on their own is because of what you just said, the embarrassment factor, not wanting people to know, which we certainly understand. But it's much better to reach out and get some help and get some expert opinion on what you can do.
And you do have to be careful on who you reach out to help. There are some laws that govern when you can be charged for this kind of help. I know for realtors that are working through short sales or loan renegotiations, we can't charge up front. And so be very leery if someone's charging you up front for a service that they have yet to provide. And so even though you don't want to handle it on your own, you do want to seek out help. We will recommend that you talk with a legal professional to get the best legal advice as to what your options are. But don't try to handle it on your own. I know what you're thinking right now is, I can't afford to make my mortgage payment, so how can I afford to hire an attorney? I know that's a difficult decision, but if it means you saving your home, you're going to have to spend money on something. It's best to spend it on that and save your home than to not hire anybody.
And then let's see. Well,
if you're just tuning in to our show, we want you to head over to our website at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv. And today we're talking about what not to do if you're having trouble making your mortgage payment. We're going through our list of things to not do so that you can save your home if you're having a hard time. So go to that website. and register for our newsletter. We'll send you this list in writing so that you have it and you can use it for future reference.
So we're telling you what not to do, but what to do is go to our website. Sign up for that newsletter, and you can also give us a call, 833-305-BALD. That's easy to remember. These two bald domes over here talking into the microphone.
We are hairless heads.
833-305-BALD, and if you don't like to do the letters, that's 833-305-2253.
The next on our list, I think, is important and what most people don't understand. And it sounds bold, but I'm going to say it. Don't trust the bank.
Don't trust, but they're so benevolent. They have your best interest in mind at all times.
But the bank does not have your best interest.
No, they don't.
They are to protect the interest of the loan giver,
right.
the person that gave the loan. You see, most banks don't what we call own the loan.
Mm-hmm.
You may have walked into a bank and they may have given you the loan, but then they sell off that loan to an investor.
Mm-hmm.
That investor then makes the profit on that loan. And if you don't make your payments, the bank is charged, or somebody else is charged, like a trustee, with the duty to go collect on that debt.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say don't trust the bank, we mean that when you call the bank and they give you verbal commitments, I have learned that the verbal commitments that they give to you usually are not held.
Mm-hmm.
If you get something in writing that you can reference, awesome.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, we did so many short sales that went into foreclosure and all these things in the past that I talked to clients after client after client that said, but the bank told me.
Mm-hmm.
What did they tell you? They told me this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get it in writing? No.
Yep.
How are we going to prove it? It's your word versus the big bank's word.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust the bank.
Yeah.
Don't take them at face value. You still need to do what's in your best interest and take the actions that you need to do.
Yep.
Next thing.
Do not let your insurance premium lapse. And this is something that's very easily overlooked, but you miss one day and your insurance can be canceled on you.
Yeah, especially in California with a lot of the insurance companies no longer writing new policies.
Mm-hmm.
They're now even canceling people that I've heard. I was talking to an insurance agent, and he was telling me that if you miss your payment by one day,
mm-hmm.
like not your annual renewal, but if you're a monthly payment, you miss by one day, they'll cancel you. They won't renew. And so if you lapse on your insurance premium, you may have a hard time getting insurance again,
mm-hmm.
or you'll have to go to another company out there now that is still writing insurance, and it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Yep.
So some companies, some lenders will have you escrow
mm-hmm.
your property taxes as well as your insurance premiums. And if you go late on your payments and they don't have enough money to cover those things, you still got to figure out,
mm-hmm.
is that payment going to be made?
Yeah.
Are those property tax payments going to be made? You don't want to let your insurance premiums lapse.
Yeah, and that's something really to consider because people don't realize, if that's in an escrow account that's being paid and you're not paying your payments, that very well has lapsed and then you'll be in trouble.
Yeah, so obviously you want to know the terms of your own loan and you obviously want to go through your paperwork and confirm all that, but you don't want to let your insurance premium lapse.
Yep.
So especially if you don't escrow that, like say you pay your insurance and your property taxes separate, you want to make sure you pay those.
Yep, that's right. And then the next one is don't lose your equity. Now, that would seem to be an obvious thing. Nobody wants to lose their equity, but Aaron, I want you to explain what we mean by that.
Well, let's just use this example that we started with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a very tragic example.
Yeah.
Here is a home that is nearly paid off.
Yes.
$73,000 opening bid
mm-hmm.
at the auction. That home ended up selling to the highest bidder for $860,000.
Yep.
So somebody at the foreclosure sale turned over checks for $860,000. They now have a deed to that property, and they have to go through the process now of evicting
mm-hmm.
the previous owner, which was there. We know
mm-hmm.
who she is.
Yeah.
And we know that she could have sold that property for much more if she had called a real estate professional earlier in the process and said, look, I'm going through this difficulty. I'm having a hard time communicating with the bank. I just want to make sure I don't lose everything. And I even said, Todd, when we were there, she said to one of the guys, one of the guys says, you're going to get the money.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to get the money. And she's like, I don't want the money. I want the house. But the reality is, if you and I had gone down with her 30 days ago and said, look, we don't know what's going to happen with the bank. If you want to maximize your value, we need to get a for sale sign in the yard. We need to get tons of people through here. We need to get it listed. We need to get it sold. We think we could have got her anywhere from 1.2 to 1.5 million.
Yeah, and that's where, as our opener, she lost $500,000, possibly even more. But at the end of the day, the way it's going to work out for her is she's going to walk away with $750,000 to $800,000 in her pocket after this is all done, after the dust settles. And you might say, well, she's in a good position. Yeah, but she could have walked away with a lot more if she'd have done it the right way. But the thing is, she wasn't looking at that aspect. She was just looking at that she wanted to stay in the home.
And let me throw another wrench in there, Todd, because we don't know for sure when she's going to get that money.
That's true.
Because if she can't claim ownership to the house, is she going to now struggle claiming ownership to the proceeds
as the beneficiary? Yeah.
And will that sit now in probate somewhere until that gets worked through the system?
That's true.
There's a whole lot of problems that this lady let mount up in, and while we feel bad for her because she's pleading for her home, there were 20 years.
At least.
She said decades.
She said decades. At least 20 years.
20 years of delayed action. And I think this is an extreme case, Todd. Most people are not going to find themselves in this situation. And as we go through the notice of default list, we do see that many of the homes that are in default are listed on the MLS. And so if you're facing the issue, you've lost your job, you can't make your payments, you're 30, 60, 90 days late, you need to take immediate action right now. And if you're listening to this and you don't find yourself in that situation, praise God that that's not what you are, where you find yourself today. But if you are listening to this and you're struggling to make that payment, give us a call. Because we do have a process that we can sell homes very quickly. You'll net more than you would get at a foreclosure sale. And we will help walk you through that process step by step so that your home doesn't go into foreclosure.
That's right.
We don't want that to happen to you.
That's right. And something I should add is people oftentimes think, well, it's if you got a loan on the home, but what if I own the house outright? They can't. What happens there? Well, there's other things. There's lien. In this case, most likely it was, I don't know, I don't remember, but there can be a lien against the home. HOAs, typically it's a tax bills that are in arrears that can cause you to be in that position.
And so there's a lot of reasons that, this was a bank foreclosure, but unpaid HOA dues. They have a right to foreclose on your home.
That's right.
I mean, can you imagine giving your home to the HOA because you didn't pay and maybe it's $13,000 or $14,000?
Yeah.
People get foreclosed on for that. And the other thing is that you have property taxes. You can go 5 years, I believe, and then the county can foreclose on your home. And so if you owe $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 in property taxes, you can get foreclosed on. And it's super important to take care of the asset that you've been given to.
That's right. Yeah.
So give us a call today. Todd, how can they reach us?
They can reach us by calling 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-BALD. And if you like the numbers, it's 833-305-2253. And you can also go to our website at baldbrothers.tv. And as Aaron said earlier, sign up for our newsletter, and we'd like to give you some information on what not to do as well.
And if you found today's episode helpful, like it, share it, give us a 5-star review. We would be truly blessed if you did that. God bless, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the All Things Real Estate Show. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Impact Properties, Inc., licensed by the California Department of Real Estate number 019222671. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice, and we do encourage you to seek the advice of the proper professionals. If you'd like to reach us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.